Well, I've cooked the steak, but I've set the fire alarm off because I was trying not to have lots of smoke going everywhere and not have the fan on. Somebody get me a beer. Nobody here. First secret to cooking the perfect steak is to open yourself a beer. A hotly debated subject is how long you should temper your steak for. That's when you're letting it get as close as possible to room temperature. Some will argue that the time you save in the cooking is minimal, but having owned two outstanding steakhouses, and I do cooking classes here like you wouldn't believe, and that people just love my steak classes, I like tempering the steak. So I want to get it as close to room temperature as possible. So I'm going to leave it on the bench. It's covered, it's in a vacuum packed bag. If you're leaving it on your bench, just keep it covered in Glad wrap, and that will be the secret to even cooking of your steak. It will be more tender, it will be worth the effort. And if you don't have time to get it out of the fridge well in advance, pop it into a Ziploc bag, into a bath of warm water, and let it get to room temperature. I am going to make my chimichurri sauce, Argentinian sauce. It can go on roasted vegetables, over salads, over fish, but it is beautiful over a steak. So let's get making a chimichurri. For my chimichurri, we're going to need some shallot. Peel that. It's just a small one. Well, I picked the most difficult one to peel, didn't I? So I've got the smallest shallot in history, but it's about half a shallot. And one garlic clove. If it's a big one, half will do just fine. It's not a garlic sauce, it's a chimichurri sauce. Now I've got some coriander, and if you're in the US of A, then you'll call it cilantro. And we're going to finely chop that up, and I'm looking for about 1 tablespoon after it's chopped up. So very fine. There we go, that's about 1 tablespoon. And about 1/4 cup of Italian parsley. Traditionally, a chimichurri is done with all parsley, but I just love the combination. Just a touch of coriander. And that will be enough. And I'm just letting the knife do the work. And the parsley is done. Now this is where I need a mortar and pestle. We're going to have some dried oregano. Now I've got some fresh oregano in the garden at home, but I find dried is even better when you're making a chimichurri sauce. And we need about 1/4 teaspoon of chili flakes. If you like it chili, go for more. So some people like to do this in a blender, but I like to get the oils out of the oregano and the chili by crushing them up. It's going to make a big difference to the flavour. Oh, it smells incredible right now. And now when I put the parsley in, it's going to get very full because I've got a small mortar and pestle. And I am going to crush these up. Getting the oils out of the parsley, the coriander, crushing those onions up to get the flavour through. This is way nicer in my opinion than doing it in a blender. You're going to get a better result by doing this. It takes a minute, and if you've got a small one like mine, you're going to spill it everywhere. There we go, let's just rescue these guys. Put them back in there. Give it another couple of seconds. Smells incredible. Into a bowl. Now we need to get in vinegar. We use apple cider vinegar or red wine vinegar. I'm using a white wine liqueur vinegar. And you can see it's clear. You can get this anywhere around the world if you go searching for it. I'll put it in the comments below. It is absolutely fantastic. It's also genius over yogurt and granola. It just is a changing thing, I tell you. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, 1/4 of a cup of extra virgin olive oil, use a good one. Going to make a difference. Put a pinch of salt. Now, you should be a salt snob. Use a salt you like. I'm using a flake salt that crushes up. It's lovely and soft. I'll put comments below about which one it is. Look at that. Now, this is just going to get better and better as it sits. So tomorrow it will taste wonderful, but I'm going to eat my steak in about 3 hours. So all the flavors will come together. At the moment, if you taste that, you know, you'll pick up the parsley and the coriander, but let me tell you, it just gets better as it gets older. It can last in the fridge for up to a week. Looks absolutely delicious, smells even better, but I need to taste it now because it's too late to add salt later on, right? So good. This is the magic ingredient in there, and of course good extra virgin olive oil, and it took just a couple of minutes to make. Time to have a beer. Chimichurri's made, beer's still cold, so that's pretty good. And I've got my steak out. So this is a New Zealand boneless ribeye. So in New Zealand we call it a Scotch fillet. Moisture is your enemy with a steak. If you put a moist steak into a pan, it's gonna sizzle. And that sizzle is the moisture bubbling away and boiling, and you're basically steaming your steak. So what we want to do is dab it. Don't lay your paper towel on, otherwise you'll be picking bits of paper towel off it. Just dab it and get rid of all the moisture that you can, because that really is your enemy. Whether you're cooking on the barbecue, in a frying pan, it doesn't matter. Let's get rid of all of that moisture as much as we can, because it's just gonna boil and we're not gonna get a good crust. So let's really do a good job of that. There we go, look at that beautiful piece of New Zealand Scotch fillet. Now, you can season your steak. I don't like to do that. Now, flake salt, not flake salt. I don't like the flavor of iodized salt. I like a salt that I love. I think everybody should be a salt snob. This is Murray River, I love it, even though it's from Australia, because you can grind it up. It's soft, it's flaky, but see, with my fingers, I'm grinding it up. And if you season your chopping board, you're gonna get a way better coating on your steak. And you're probably looking going, oh my God, look how much salt's going on there. Wait till you see how much pepper goes on. Now, some people go, I don't like to put pepper on until afterwards because it burns, and it does if your pan is super, super hot. But that's a mistake to cook in a pan that's super, super hot, right? Because we'll burn our crust. We don't want that. We want them high heat to start off with, and then we're going to lower it down just a touch. So it's between medium and high. We can now easily get the edge of our steak, and we're seasoning like a chef, not a home cook. Now, let's get that salt on there and that pepper on there, because we're going to leave some of it on the grill bars in the barbecue, or on the flat top in the barbecue, wherever you're cooking it, or you'll even leave some in the fry pan. Don't worry, you want plenty of seasoning, because it's all about that crust. Our steak is ready for the pan. Look at that beautiful thing. Let's heat our pan up. Now, before we heat our pan up, let's talk about thermometers. You've got an expensive piece of meat. Hopefully you're not buying it from the supermarket. You're going to a butcher, you've got a relationship with your butcher, you've taken them a box of beer, they remember you every time you walk in, and you've bought yourself a meter or an instant read digital thermometer. You can buy them cheap from the supermarket. That's why you go to the supermarket, right? Meter's probably the best in the world. They're absolutely genius. It charges in here, and I insert that into the steak, and then I can watch on my phone while I'm sitting having a beer. If you're out by the barbecue, so long as this is next to the barbecue, it will communicate to this and communicate to your phone. You need to spend the money on a good thermometer because you've got an expensive piece of meat, right? So do yourself a favor and buy yourself an instant read thermometer. If the budget permits, grab yourself a meter. I don't get paid by these guys. I love them. They're genius. Now I'm gonna have to do a bit of jiggery poker to film how we do this because I do it on my phone and I'm filming on the phone. So bear with me. But this gets inserted, always making sure that you've cleaned it beforehand, into the middle of the steak. So find the center on the side and then poke that in, leaving the little black transponder poking out the side of it. The pan's heating up, and if you've got an Apple Watch, it's going to tell me how long it is before it's going to be cooked. So we're just waiting for the pan to heat up, and then we're going to put a little drizzle of extra virgin olive oil in there. And we just test the temperature of the pan. They've got that good sear. That's what you want to hear. Now, don't touch it. Let it sit there. Have a spatula or a fish slice and a set of tongs. We're going to give it 30 seconds on one side and then we're going to turn it. We will get more even cooking if we turn it regularly. If you just leave it in the pan and only flip it once, then you're not going to get as even cooking and you'll have a grey band on the outside and your crust won't be as good because there's nooks and crannies in this pan. So every time it's flipping, it's allowing the steak to rest and it's touching a different part of the pan. At this stage, we don't need to prod it, push it, touch it. We're just leaving it in there for that 30 seconds and then we're going to use the fish slice so that we get the salt staying on the steak. There we go, about 30 seconds. So in and over it goes. Another 30 seconds on this side and over we go. Now we're starting to get good crust because it's touching a different part of the pan every time. And the app is now saying 5 minutes remaining. Time to remove our steak from the pan. Well, I've cooked the steak, but I've set the fire alarm off because I was trying not to have lots of smoke going everywhere and not have the fan on. So that's the blooper, everybody. I'll let it rest. Okay, well the fire alarm's gone off. That's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? And I'm ready for another goddamn beer, but this steak is ready for us to have a little look at. I love thick cut steaks because then I reverse sear and you can check out that recipe by just clicking above. But I need a beer. Let's have a look. So I'll pull this out, and the beauty about these Meter 2 Pluses is this is very narrow. They are genius. All right, let's turn it around. It's been resting. Let's cut it in half and let's have a look and see if we've got that even edge to edge cooking. So I absolutely love the Meter thermometer when it comes to cooking whole joints of meat, like a leg of lamb or a pork roast or a whole ribeye or reverse searing. But when it comes to cooking thin cut steaks, I'm not quite so keen on them because they tend to keep cooking too much. It doesn't tell you early enough. So genius for thick cuts. So I'm going to cook another steak and use what most people would use, because this is a bit flash Harry, right? This is an instant read thermometer. Now it doesn't have lots of sensors in here, I just get the very internal temperature of the steak by using this. So this is going to be great. Let's cook a steak. Little extra virgin olive oil in there, not too much because we don't want to smoke the kitchen out. See, we've got some good heat on there. Lay your steak away from you. Don't touch it, leave it alone. We're going to flip it in 1 minute. Use a fish slicer, get under there so we keep all the salt on there. Look, we're starting to get a good crust, but wait, it's gonna come good. Now we're gonna flip every 30 seconds. And you can see how the crust is really starting to come together. Hits a different spot in the pan each time, and we're slowly developing this lovely crust. Very soon we're going to take it out and we're going to use this to see what the internal temperature is. And for that medium rare, I'm looking for 49 degrees Celsius. Okay, we're going to take it out now, move the pan off the heat for a moment. I'm going to go into the middle of the steak and just get a gauge of where I'm at. 35, and you can always see where the middle of the steak is. About the middle, would you say? So, yep, 36 degrees. So we've got just over 10 degrees to go. So we'll get it back in the pan and do our flip. And out we go. Have another look. Okay, I'm at 49 degrees. Perfect. So, I'm going to leave this here to rest now for 10 minutes. So now it's been sitting here for 10 minutes. Let us cut it in half and see what it looks like. There you go, perfect. Even edge to edge cooking, no grey band on the outside. I am happy with that. That looks absolutely delicious. Moist, delicious, and that was cooking to an internal temperature of 49 degrees Celsius. Let's slice it up. Look at that, beautiful. Now let's just get a little bit of the chimichurri across the top. Just like that. There we go.